They say be careful what you what you wish for because it just might come true. That's the story of Juventus fans in these past 6 to 8 months, or more than that. Here on the Calcio Guys, I'm Nicholas with Gianni. You can follow us on social media: Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. Listen to us on all your favorite podcasting platforms. Adriano isn't with us again this week, but instead we're joined for the first time. It's been a while since we've had a first time guest, but Gio from Juve Corner Cast. Gio, how's it going?
It's going good. It's going good, guys. Guys, how are you?
I'm doing not bad. You said be careful what you wish for. I'd wish for Nicholas to not mess up that intro next time. But we can't always get what we want, right?
It's okay. It's okay. This isn't a perfect podcast. It's okay. And just like Juve is not perfect, losing their first game of the season, Champions League yesterday. But we're going to get into that later. But Gio, what we like to do with our guests when they come on for the first time on this podcast is, we're passionate about Calcio. We want to ask you how did you get your passion for Calcio? How did you get your passion for Juve? And I know you have your podcast going, Juve Corner Cast, and if you could finish with that, give us the little history, even though it's a short history on the podcast.
Yeah. So I became a Juve fan actually from my father. My dad has been actually a long time Juve fan since he was a kid. And the funny thing is actually, my grandfather, my dad's dad, was a Interista, which was actually kind of funny about that. So ever since then though, ever since I actually watched Del Piero play his last couple matches from then on, and then watching Conte's Juventus, I became a big fan of Juventus, and I love the shirts. I love everything about Juventus, the curva, everything that goes for Juventus. So that's kind of my little history of how I became a Juventino. But also, with the podcast, right? We started 2 months ago. It's doing very well at the moment. Definitely it's going to be growing and growing as time goes on as well, with more videos and more content coming out, of course. But I love Juventus, and that's pretty much my backstory, I would say.
You hear that, Gianni? Juventus.
Yeah.
Loves Juventus.
I mean, I don't know what happened from the Inter to Juve point, but hey, to each their own. But if there had to be one moment for you that stood out from your entire life of being a Juventino, what would be the number one moment that really defined it? I was you know what? I'm a proud Juventino, and despite all the allegations, I don't care. By the way, I just want to give you a heads up. I like to joke around about Juve all the time.
Yeah.
But in all seriousness, though, Juve has had many magical moments in its recent history, and since you mentioned it, what was that one that really stuck out for you the most?
Definitely, I would say the road to the 2015 Champions League final that year with Allegri. That was definitely one of the key moments. I think I was I'm going to be a Juventus fan from now on. Even though we lost that match, I still thought that Juventus was, I would say, a proud team, and we were going to do something in the future. And we won 9 Scudetti in a row, so we were also very used to winning as well. So that's when I started, feeling that, and we got, Ronaldo in the long run as well, which was another moment as well that I just started loving Juventus more and more. So I would say that moment on, when we actually got to the final of the Champions League, that's when I started being a real Juventino.
Well, it was a very ambitious time for Juve. There was a lot of progressive thinking, a lot of trying out new things, and I think you mentioned the Ronaldo thing is a very we've talked about it many times before on the podcast, but that is a very, very key moment in recent Juventus history, because that was them trying to say hey, we're going to try to seriously push for that Champions League title, because in 15 and 17, and it was 15 and 17, right? Or was it 15, 16?
15-17.
It was 15 and 17. Yeah. They reached it twice, did not win it twice. And they're okay, we need to just get that over that hump. We can get to the final, just need to get over it. And Ronaldo at the time was that guy. And it was also the same time that they rebranded and stuff. As you can see, the emblem on your shirt is a perfect example of their rebrand. So I think that's fantastic moment to point out. I think it's been an exciting time to be a Juventino in these past few years. Well, I wouldn't say post-pandemic, but it's still an exciting time prior to that.
Yeah, I was gonna say past few years. It's been 4 years. Yeah. Since the last Scudetto, it's starting to add up there.
Yeah.
Starting to add up. Brings back memories, that Champions League run for sure. I remember so much of it up until the final. I choose to forget about that. But
Teams playing the Champions League final. Just admit that. I wasn't even alive for Roma, so let's just leave it like that.
when did they play? It was in the 80s.
It was the I think it was 87, 86. They lost to Liverpool in the finals in penalty shots. So look at that. Liverpool winning it through penalties. What is But yeah, I wasn't even alive for that, so. And I don't think I'll ever see Napoli play a Champions League final. You never know in life, but
yeah, I don't think so either.
You never know.
You never know.
With Conte, anything's possible. You mentioned him before. Yeah. Anything's possible. But anyways, Nick, you got another question lined up?
No, I just wanted to talk about the current Juve. We're talking about Champions League. Match day 3 was on Tuesday. Juve hosted Stuttgart. They came into this game having won both of their first 2 games in the Champions League. Last one in Leipzig was, one of those classic, magical, dramatic games with that late winner from Conceição. None of that this time around. Obviously, I think the one bright spot was the Perin penalty save, and then at the end, it was Stuttgart that still managed to win against 10 men against Danilo, who got a red card on that penalty. And you know what? Stuttgart deserved the win. They dominated the game. They had more chances. Juve had one shot on target. It was just one of those frustrating games that almost felt like the Lazio game, except for, I wouldn't say luck didn't go Juve's way, because like I said, Stuttgart did deserve the win, but luck went Juve's way against Lazio. So Gio, tell me, watching it, what did you make of the game and even just the performance as a whole?
Yeah, well, disappointing performance for sure from Juventus current standpoint. I wasn't really happy with the way that we came out in the first half, right? In the beginning of the match, we saw a Stuttgart that was really pressuring us in the phase of attack for them. And they just kept them putting us under pressure. And that's one thing that I've noticed is that's Juventus's weaknesses is the counter press. How can we manage to do that? And also it looked like that we had no urgency from the start, and we looked very flat on the ball. And it just, like I said, we weren't ready for this game tactically. I think Motta got outclassed this game, and Motta wasn't ready. I think they were also pretty much looking forward to the Inter game this weekend. So definitely, I would say a bad performance from Juventus.
Jenny, do you have a question?
Well, I was just going to be like, so it does unfortunately happen and I know we're talking about Champions League, but we have to also look at the fact that in Serie A right now, they're still undefeated, but 4 games and 4 draws. Do you think this is more of a Motta situation or more of a result of the team just, probably having their attention too split up right now and too divided? Do you think What do you think where the main issue lies? Because it is their first loss, which is a very big thing to do. But still, people need to keep in context that it's 4 wins and 4 draws in Serie A. It's not like as if it's been 8 wins, So they're losing some points. They're still in the race, but they're losing some very key points. And against big teams, they got only certain draws. They got 0-0 draws, and if the Lazio situation would have been another draw if it wasn't for the case. Do you think? But that's why I'm more saying that you believe it's more of a Motta situation with the team, or it's just the team themselves that just don't seem to have a focus in a certain, all in the right places at the same time.
I think it was actually both. I think both, because like I said, Motta, I think tactically he wasn't ready for this game, and second, I think the players their fitness levels weren't really there, as we saw that they looked very tired and they looked very slow on the ball. And as you can also see, the concentration levels weren't there as well. So, definitely I would say it's both on the coach as well with the intense trainings. What he did with Bologna last season was phenomenal. It was a crazy surprise, right? Because we didn't expect Bologna to qualify for Champions League, right? But, the intense trainings, he was playing last season with one competition, Motta. But this season it's different competitions, it's more competition, so it's different and more playing and more games. So that's also the issue is, are we really burning the players out? Is Motta burning the players out? I mean, I think that could be right there a warning, I would say. So
do you believe that Motta is more of I know it's way too early to even decide because it's not even 10 games. Well, depends if you want to consider the Champions League games themselves. But let's just say a third of the season hasn't been played yet. Do you think Mata himself is so far like just a one competition type of coach? Do you think maybe his leap to a top tier team was a bit too soon? What do you make of it? Because I know, like you said it perfectly. Like Mata did wonderful things with Bologna last year, but you said it perfectly as well. It was just one competition. Do you think it's probably the same thing for Juventus as well?
It could be, but you said, it's a little bit too early in the season to really judge him on that point. But at the same time, it's listen, he's done already 2 wonderful performances in the Champions League against Leipzig, right, with the comeback, right, and he's already won. Who we play the first match? I don't remember.
The Dutch team, was it Eindhoven?
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, PSV. I remember now.
Yeah.
PSV. Eindhoven. So yeah, 2 good performances. Listen, I think that the Stuttgart game was a fluke. I don't think that this is the real Juventus. I said this on my podcast actually prior, saying that we won't see the real Juventus till December, like in December when we versus Man City and Aston Villa. That's when we're going to really see Juventus. And also, I kind of blame the injuries too. The injuries haven't really helped, right? It's affected the team, like with Coop Miners, with the creativity up front. So I think that definitely, I would say that's also a major factor in this.
If you think this was a fluke for Juventus, because I'll be honest, I'm kind of thinking the opposite. But I want to ask you first, like, if you think the Stuttgart result is a fluke, what did you make of the Lazio game, where, like I said, it's kind of like the same type of play, and then a result ended up on the other side?
Well, listen, I think that right now, I think we're in a little bit of a slump, yes, but I don't think. We saw the perfect flashes of Juventus against Leipzig, against PSV, or what Juventus firepower can do. So, like I said, I think that these games here are just because affecting, I would say, maybe the conditions, like I said, with the fitness levels, right? With too much intense training. I think that's a big part of it. And number 2, I think the injuries are taking a big effect on Juventus with the creativity up front, and that's why we're not scoring as much goals.
Yeah. That, that's a good way of looking at it for me. At the end of the day, 3 points is 3 points, but Saturday, I can't say I celebrated the win just because it was a frustrating game.
Yeah, no, I didn't frustrate. Listen, I agree with you because like I said, we didn't play that good of a game against Lazio either, right? And Lazio were down 10 men, so I'd say from the Lazio game we've been going in a decline as well. So I agree with that.
Yeah, exactly. And you know what? Maybe that win kind of masked some of the problems they had, and then they go into the Stuttgart game and it's the same problem. So maybe losing against Stuttgart can help improve their chances. Especially this game coming up is a huge game against Inter. So that's interesting. But you talk about goal scoring. We know there's not a lot of depth, and right now there's a ton of weight on Vlahovic's shoulders. But at the same time, he's not scoring goals. What have you made of Vlahovic specifically this season?
Listen, I would say that if you look at the stats terms, in terms of statistics, right? Vlahovic actually has been doing well, but at the same time, it's just that I think that he's just not getting the right service. There's times where he is very unlucky, I would say, especially with that Coyote miss, right? And then we had the game when he hit the crossbar against Lazio, right? So definitely, I would say that Vlahovic is also up here with the mentally. He's just I don't know what it is. It's just that he just gets like nervous in those big games and he just doesn't show up. And that's the thing, in order to become a top striker, and he has a lot of potential. I actually, I like Vlahovic a lot. He has a lot of potential, but he needs to make the next step and to really, becoming a good, I would say, game changer in the big games, because that's what we need. That's what Juventus needs. It's somebody that could put the ball in the net in big games and big situations, because that's going to be probably that's probably would win us the Scudetto. If we could get somebody that can do that, perfect. Because listen, if we could beat Inter like that, Napoli, just in that fashion, and we could end up winning the Scudetto as well. So that's what we basically need.
Johnny, how many times have I said on this podcast that Vlahovic, it's all mental?
Well, yeah, you've said it many times before, and we also need to consider the fact that like that Vlahovic wanted Juve. You know, he purposely left Fiorentina saying that he would rather because he wants to go to Juve. Why is my camera unfocusing right now? There we go. Screw it. Who needs to see me? Okay, I'm back. No, but it's Vlahovic wanted Juventus because he wanted to take that next step up and he wanted to, you know, play in tougher competition. And it just seems that as the years have gone by, you know, he went from this star prospect at Fiorentina to, you know, at times, not always, but at times, almost a laughing stock of a striker for Juventus. There's times where the guy buries these beautiful goals, and there's times where this guy just doesn't even bother showing up, and you have to rely on your wingers and stuff. And one question I wanted to bring up to get Gio's opinion on it, you know, is like Federico Chiesa, you know, had his old fiasco with Juve this summer, but now he's getting 0 playing time in Liverpool. But do you think the team is kind of, more specifically, I guess, Dusan, but still overall the team, you think they're missing a guy like Chiesa on that roster, especially under a manager like Motta, even though Motta kind of really had him in this whole limbo situation? Do you think maybe that's somebody that could have probably, I know it should have, could have, would have, but somebody they could have relied upon in this current situation? With lack of creativity, since you brought up the whole creativity, because I personally used to believe that Chiesa is probably the most creative player on the Italian roster sometimes at times. So now Di Marco's getting up there too. But anyways, that's neither here nor there. But Gio, your turn. You go.
I mean, listen. I agree with you. You know, with Di Marco as well, right? He's been honestly, you know, a lot. You know, I would say the same level as Chiesa in terms of you know, showing up for the national team, which is very important. So definitely good on that one. But with the Chiesa situation, right? Listen, it's 50-50 for me because one, we were always complaining about his injuries, right? About that, oh, he's never going to get fit. You know, he's only there like once a game, right? And now it's happening at Liverpool. He's not getting any playing time. He's, you know, still injured a little bit, you know. Supposedly, you know, the coach Slot doesn't really see him fit for the next couple games. So see on that. But like I said, you know, he could have been a good asset for Juventus if he was fit. But, you know, just because of that, I think Juventus just decided to move on because of the injuries and also the inconsistency. So if you know, like I said, with the comparison with Chiesa and Vlahovic, it could happen all over again in the summer if Vlahovic doesn't keep the consistency. And I would say that's the key that Juventus needs right now is consistency.
You know, speaking of 50-50, just like Bonucci said, it's 50-50 for the fault between. Sorry, I just wanted to make that joke. I just had the opportunity.
Listen, like I said, you know, you know, it's always you know, it could have happened, right? If he stayed, you know, he could have made a big impact. Who knows, right?
Yeah, it's all hypothetical.
You know, like I said, you know, if it all depends on his health, on his injury status, because, you know, if, like I said, he could have been probably one of the guys that could have been showing up in these type of big moments and creating some kind of chance for, you know, Vlahovic, for example, right? You know, and also maybe just taking him himself, right? Taking a one-on-one, which he's very good at, right? So perfect. I would say that is what I have to probably say for Chiesa for sure.
I just feel like he's such a Mata player. That's why. That's just that's my whole. I found it so weird that you know, they had that falling out. But anyways, I'm not a fly on the wall, so unfortunately I don't know.
Yeah.
How about other? You know, we're talking about one player who left, but how about the players that have come in this season? You know, there's been a lot of controversy, specifically Douglas Luiz. He seems like he's almost like a Rabiot type player where when he's really good, he's really good. When he's really bad, you know, when he's bad, he's really bad. I don't, you know, personally, I don't think, you know, we're far enough into the season to really make a full judgment. I think he's still a valuable player. Yes, he's made some mistakes. It was because it was him that gave up. He's already given up 2 penalties from handballs already. You know, thinking about other signings, even bringing in Kalulu. I've really liked Kalulu. Kuminers, he's been injured, so we haven't been able to fully dissect him. But when he was playing, I felt like he struggled a bit. You know, Conceição, you know, again, he's made an impact in some games. Other games, he's been invisible. But Gio, what do you think? You know, about the guys we've brought in and who's been good, who's been bad?
Well, I would say the best purchase that we probably made in the summer was definitely Kalulu. What a surprise. You know, Kalulu was probably the best, I would say the best Juventus signing so far in terms of performances. Coop, I would say that he needs more time because of the injury, right? And same thing goes with Nico Gonzalez, right? Nico Gonzalez, he's already scored his first goal with PSV, but he's also been injured. But there's also been some good flashes and good movements from Coop Miners, which I did like in some games that he did play. Just couldn't finish. He hit the post and a couple times in a couple games. So listen, he's there. When he's fit, when he gets back, I think he's going to definitely be somebody that could be very creative in that 10 role, which, we're missing somebody that could do that. And Douglas Luiz has probably been the most disappointing. Thuram, I think Thuram is now we're learning that he's a very clumsy player, especially from yesterday's game, right? We saw him being very clumsy, clumsy tackles, and just very heavy touches as well. So disappointing from Thuram, but he's still young. So, we give him a little bit more, but let's talk about Douglas Luiz, because that definitely, I would say that he's probably the most disappointing signing, I think, by far for Juventus. But there's still time. It's still the beginning of the season. We also have to remember, new team, new coach, new league at the same time, different intensity of football as well. So definitely, I would say, give Douglas Luiz a little bit more time, possibly towards January, and let's see. We could start judging.
How about one area of concern that I feel like Juve missed out on with the summer transfers was getting a proper backup striker, and how important is that come the January transfer window?
Yeah, no, I agree. It definitely that was probably one of the biggest mistakes I think Giuntoli missed out was definitely the Vice Vlahovic, right, the second striker. Because, Milik won't be back till January now. And if something happens with Vlahovic, right, who are we going to have? We're screwed. So, who do we play? Nico Gonzalez, yeah, okay, he's injured. Weah, yeah, if he's 100% fit, so like I said, we need somebody like I would say Xerxes. Supposedly there's a couple links of Xerxes from Manchester United coming to Juventus in January. So hopefully we get somebody like that knows Motta's style, because I think we're missing that type of player that already knows Motta's style, that knows the movements, right? Knows the tactics already. I think we're missing somebody like that. So I hopefully we get them in the January market.
One positive up thing, though, you guys are talking about transfer markets. Di Gregorio, I think last year he used to joke around saying that he was probably the best keeper in Serie A at the time. He was the most informed, and it seems like, with 5 clean sheets so far this season, I think that's holding weight. Do you feel like as if he's been like the main factor to Juventus's dominance so far in the defensive aspect, with only 1 goal conceded in 6 games? Do you think it's just maybe the defensive system overall? Like there's got to be some positivities to this season, though. I know there's obviously room for improvement, but let's shift more towards the positive. They're like, take it from a Napoli fan. Giuntoli has been known to bring in some key names to the roster. He sometimes might not hit on everyone, but when he hits. And I think Di Gregorio is probably one of those bright spots. What are your thoughts on him?
Yeah, no, I agree. Di Gregorio, I think, has been, I would say, a beast in the back as well. I would say he's been a leader in the back, right? Helping the defense with Bremer before he got injured. Definitely telling, I would say, and he's been one of the bright spots this season for sure. Up there with, Conceição. I think Conceição, the inconsistency, he'll eventually score more opportunities that he gets, and he definitely will do some damage in the league for sure. But just gotta give him time, especially since he's coming back from injury, right? But definitely Di Gregorio has been probably one of the best, up with Kalulu as well. So definitely in the back.
It's funny. We talk about Di Gregorio, and Perin is always there as number 2. Whether I forget, he was number 2. He was never number 2 with Buffon. It was always Chesney.
Yeah, he was
right?
Number 3.
Yeah,
with
so
Buffon,
he was. Yeah.
And what annoys me is that I took Mattia Perin this year for Fantacalcio, and the guy has not played 1 minute. I got Montipo as my starting keeper, and it's not working out.
Oh no! Oh no!
Why did they have to get Di Gregorio? Why?
But
like,
that's
the series is here. Finally, the series is here. You know, at one point, Mattia Perrin was basically going to be the goalie for Italy, and then Donnarumma showed up. It's crazy.
I feel like there were so many goalies like that, but then it's like there was Buffon. These
Alexander
years, and now
Meret.
Yeah.
Meret was another one.
Meret, yeah.
Even like Marchetti. You think
Oh my God, Marchetti.
DeSantis. You know, guys who did make the national team but as backups.
Okay, well, I mean, like, I think DeSantis was always going to be a backup. Like, he was never going to be like, oh, the new starter, because he was during the era of Buffon.
Yeah,
like it's like you have to keep in context. Marchetti was more like, okay, well, like nobody expected Buffon to have that long of a career, which, you know, thank God he did. But overall, it's more like, okay, well, when Buffon eventually retires, at the time, Marchetti was like definitely the next guy. I think he was playing for Lazio at the time. I think he was doing a good job. Was it Lazio or was it another team before that?
Probably Lazio.
I feel like it was Lazio, whatever. But like, it's just Perrin just gets like the short end of the stick all the time, all the time. I mean, hey, the guy doesn't care. He's getting paid to sit on the bench, but still.
but yeah, I was gonna ask, like, yeah, where do you see his role in the team? Okay, obviously he's a backup, but it's just interesting because he does have the talent, but obviously he's not good enough to be the full-time number one. And I saw today they re-signed him until 2027. I mean, were you surprised at all with that? Like, what do you just make of Perrin within the team? Or do you expect more, even a 50-50 split between the two?
No, I would say probably now, since of that good performance, you know, I would say positively from the goalkeeper's standpoint, Perrin's standpoint, I would say that definitely I would say a 50-50 shot, right? There's supposedly now that he might start against Inter, right? There's news on that. So listen, it's 50-50 now, you know, so we'll see what happens. If Di Gregorio starts, then that'll probably be the last one, unless something does happen. Then Perrin is going to come in, but definitely they're always going to rotate, in my opinion. They're always going to rotate. Motta is with their rotation this year. So many games where you haven't really seen the full like real starting 11 of Juventus, you know. So it's always been a rotation of players. So it's always 50-50, I think, right now.
Meanwhile, Carlo Pinsoglio, he's on his 8th season as a third string goalkeeper.
Oh,
and
man.
he's played 6 games. What a life.
Oh, man.
What a life.
And he gets paid good.
He gets paid good. He was good friends with Ronaldo.
Yeah.
My God. If there's one position I want, it's third string goalkeeper. You don't even have to worry when the first string gets suspended or injured.
Yep.
You're chilling on the bench. You're basically an assistant coach at that point.
Yeah, seriously.
Let's talk about that Inter game, Gio. So it's Sunday, 1:00. This is 2-3 in the league. It's 2 versus 3. Juve's at 16 points, Inter's at 17 points. So the only way Juve could pass Inter is obviously with a win. It feels like they haven't been doing so well against Inter in recent years. I have to look at the exact numbers. But I mean, what do you expect?
I expect a big reaction from Juventus. I expect definitely to go out there angry, hungry to score. I expect us to, you know, close Inter down. As we see, this is not the best Inter since last season, right? Last season, they were, I would say, probably the best team by far in Italy. You know, it hurts to say that, but it's reality. You know, this season, they're very leaky in the back, which I think is an advantage towards us. Plus, they also have a lot of injuries as well. Carlos Augusto just went out today against Young Boys. Who else is injured? Chananoglu, Acerbi. So definitely, I would say those are the key guys for them that they're going to miss as well. So listen, we have a chance. But I want to see that reaction. And, you know, one thing I haven't been seeing from this Juventus side is that urgency from the beginning. I want to see us going out there, you know, fully blazing. You know, that's what I want to see. You know, if you guys saw the Stuttgart game, so because of the Stuttgart game, right? Stuttgart were always pressuring us in the beginning. They were pressuring us almost the entire game, just running. I want to see us doing that now. You know, after this game, I want Motta to be like, okay, guys, listen, we take the game to them and we show them who's the best, you know, team in Italy. You know, we show them, you know, that we can compete for the Scudetto, because this is good. This is going to be the game, I think, that's going to determine a lot for Juventus this season. This game is going to determine if we're going to compete for the Scudetto or not, for sure.